Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Pokemon SoulSilver. In the last part, we became the Johto League champion, which is only about the halfway point of any version of Generation 2 or its remake. We still got a whole lot to go in this journey. Oh, hi Mom. Hi Kyle. Professor Elm told me that he has something to give you. Okay, I guess we're heading next door to start things off. Now, this latter half is going to go by a little bit slower than it did back in my Crystal LP about a decade ago. A, because there's more things to show off now, but B, they change up a lot of Pokemon we're going to be fighting in this latter half, for reasons. Kyle, there you are. I called because I have something for you. See, it's an SS ticket. Now you can catch Pokemon in Kanto. And it's pretty much what he says on the tin. The ticket will let you take the fast ship that departs from Olivine City. But you knew that already, Kyle. After all, you've ventured all over with your Pokemon. Give my regards to Professor Oak in Kanto. The latter half of any version of Generation 2 is you heading back to where Generation 1 took place. The Pokemon League was in Kanto for a reason. The entire region is available to us, and on most casual playthroughs, I would actually recommend withdrawing any money you have stored with your mother at this point, because as you can see, she has a good 60k, I think that was. Probably worth picking up. But we have some other things to do first. Starting off, you might remember Balba called us right before we tackled the Pokemon League for the second test, so let's go take that. I've been waiting for you. The test is ready. This time, can you catch a Sandshrew and show it to me? Sounds easy, right? Not really. Sandshrew will not appear with the current Safari Zone setting. And that's where this comes in handy. This sophisticated high-tech machine lets you customize Safari Zone areas. I call it the Area Customizer. You want to know how it works, don't you? It's a secret. Well, you shouldn't have trouble operating it. Just talk to the staff next to me. Alright, will do. Oh. I almost forgot. I was in the middle of explaining the second test, wasn't I? You will not see Sandshrew with the current Safari Zone areas. So you have to use the Area Customizer to change them. Sandshrew live in the desert. Good luck. As I mentioned back when we first explored the Safari Zone a few parts ago, there are 10 default layouts for the Safari Zone you can get that are entirely luck-based, but that layout's what you're going to have until you can customize it. But none of those, I think like 10 different layouts, have the desert panel available in them. So let's just swap in the desert, have the Safari Zone be swapped, and head on in to go catch ourselves a Sandshrew. Now, at first this seems like all the Safari Zone can do. It just has the 12 different environments you can roam around in that have a variety of Pokemon to them, but there is more to it. This is going to be a much more abridged run of the Safari Zone because the other mechanic that gets added in here down the road has a lot more to explain than this. We're only going to the Safari Zone, I believe, 3 times in this playthrough, though. I don't need to spend a lot of time here for what I like to do. It's not like there's items that you need to have a certain amount in the Pokedex to get in this one anyway, like there were in Gen 1, more or less. Because that was, I think, the only game they really pulled that in. The only thing that getting things done in the Pokedex in this game allows you to do is, from memory, just get the certificate for completing the Pokedex. I guess technically the other thing I'm not doing throughout this LP now that I think about it, barring the one for Rocky at the start of the game, I'm not doing any of the NPC trades. I just don't see much point in them. Sometimes you get rarer Pokemon out of them, but overall it's just better things for me to focus on. For a lot of this particular Safari Zone playthrough, I am just jumping to when I next catch a Pokemon. The main thing you're going to want to do is focus in the desert just to get yourself that Sandshrew, even though I think Sand Slashes are weirdly more common in my experience, even if they are rarer intentionally. And from there, my next priority is to actually try and find a new Pokemon for us up in the... It's not the peak, I think it's the mountain area, because it's currently morning/daytime in-game. And a rare Pokemon that I want to talk about, and I would recommend getting as early as you can get to the Safari Zone, if you get the mountain in your default layout. For now, let's just catch ourselves a Sandshrew. I do find it kind of funny. Like I brought up before in this LP that I have like the 2/3 rule for Pokemon that are on my team. I like to have 2/3 of it be new to the region in some form. But I also tried to catch a lot of new Pokemon for my team this time around, just so it's not the same team as my old Crystal LP. The only 3 I have that are the same are the Vaporeon, the Typhlosion, and the Haunter. But for this, I still have to catch myself a Sandshrew, so hey, old member 4 again. And you know, even though I'm not going to use you, why not? Let's give you a nickname. Let's go with Anthem. Welcome to the team. And that's the thing we need to do here in the Safari Zone, but now I'm looking for a specific Pokemon here in the mountain region. It's the rarest here from memory. I think it's like a 5% chance-ish, and I had to look around for a little bit there. This is a Larvitar, rock ground type, which means it's weak to fighting, ground, steel, water, grass, and ice. Water and grass are 4 times weaknesses, but immune to electric. I've brought it up before that I'm not usually a fan of the rock ground typing. But the Larvitar line is genuinely worth it, as A, they naturally have the ability Sandstream, which whips up a sandstorm attack just by them being in the field, that they're immune to completely. And by the time it reaches its final evolution, you have a pseudo-legendary with really high defense and attack and HP stats. Its only real weakness is that it's kind of slow. I would recommend catching one of these as soon as you can if you're looking for something that's a really good attacker. Miranda, I'm just naming it that after another friend of mine. I'm not going to use it. I'm more catching it here to say the Safari Zone in Heart Gold, Soul Silver is here to sort of make up with the fault of the original Generation 2, where a lot of the new Pokemon you can't catch until Kanto in some way. Either they're just on some route randomly in the morning, day, or night, or they're in the very end game areas where you're just not going to have a chance to use them for a lot of things without doing an obscene amount of grinding. I'm glad the Safari Zone was added to this game because it genuinely makes it a much more playable experience in terms of just exploring the Pokedex. Because old Gen 2, kinda hard to go back to for that. And even then, Heart Gold Soul Silver still isn't the best for it, because, like, there's usually maybe 1 new Pokemon per route in some regards, but they're not available until certain times of day, so you might not see them on a certain playthrough of it. Or they're not available until you can either do some form of fishing, or surfing, or HM use, and that makes finding new Pokemon really, really weird. I really prefer how they do it in Gen 3 Beyond in terms of the Pokemon mixing. So let's go get ourselves that Sandshrew into our team and show her off. You did it! You caught a Sandshrew. I knew you could do it. You passed the test. You are now the Safari Zone owner. I've always wanted to see young people playing at the Safari. I thought I might get some new ideas. That should help you complete your Pokedex. That's what I have been thinking. By the way, though you are now the Safari Zone owner, would you kindly continue to pay admission? We have our reasons. Don't be upset, I'll keep thinking about how I can create new, fun ways to help you complete your Pokedex. Go have fun at the Safari Zone. And now, once again, we have to wait about 3 real-life in-game hours for him to call us back. So, let's head on over to Olivine City, and before actively boarding the ship with the ticket we got for Kanto, it's time for me to go grab a TM. I forgot to get as early as we could actively surf. Not that it's a very important one for me. We're getting Charge Beam around here, which is a special electric move that's low power and decently accurate. The biggest thing with it is that it has a very high chance of raising the user's special attack. I think it's like 70%, higher than half for certain. So using that in the place of, say, the move Charge could be a good strat to go with if you're looking at a longer battle, especially against a lot of Pokemon weak to electric. Oh, shit. Hey, Professor Oak. What are you doing in here?
Hello. You are starting to have the attitude of a champion, Kyle. It's time for your Pokedex to match who you are. Let me see your Pokedex for a second. I'll upgrade your Pokedex with the National Mode. It won't be easy to complete the National Pokedex. However, I'm sure you'll make an honest attempt on our behalf. Oh, time flies. I have a radio show to record at Goldenrod Radio Tower. You must be heading for Kanto. If you come near Pallet Town, do drop by my Pokemon Research Lab.
And now we have access to the National Pokedex. Not that it matters much at this point, because you couldn't have seen many Pokemon beyond the original Gen 2's 250 or so at this point, barring some trading and comparing of Pokedexes to other trainers in real life. But now we can see all 493 in some form or way that were present in this generation. In fact, getting the National Pokedex changes some things in Johto, period. Namely, swarms are now going to be a thing that you can do, like I brought up a few videos ago. Additionally, the bug catching contest now has a few new Pokemon in it. Namely, a lot of the notable bug lines from Gen 3 and 4, like both Wurmple lines, Kricketot and Kricketune, and so on. Welcome to the fast ship SS Aqua. May I see your SS ticket? Okay, so you have a ticket? We're departing soon. Get on board quick. And thus, unlike our journey back in Generation 1, we actually get to ride a boat. Okay, you must be the last passenger. I love this area's theme. And I know it's entirely because it's a ship's horn. But that always reminds me particularly of, I think it's Phantom Hourglass on the DS. Oh god, hi.
Whoa, excuse me, I was in a hurry. My granddaughter's missing. She's just a wee girl. If you see her, please let me know.
Okay, bye. So, the SS Aqua is actually a little bit more of a direct comparison to the SS N that I joked about a moment ago. You even have your own room here that has a PC box, uplink, as well as a bed for you to rest in to heal your Pokemon. This is more or less just a transitional area. There's not many important items to get here, but there are a lot of optional trainers you can fight, and some of them are only present on this particular trip, because you can come back on the SS Aqua back and forth from Kanto to Johto on certain days of the week, and they have different trainers on them at that point. Not that every trainer here is very important. Most of them have a lot of Pokemon you would have seen already by now. I'd recommend just fighting them for the experience. With that said, the biggest structural change to Kanto from the original Gold, Silver, and Crystal gets pretty clear as soon as you fight a couple of the trainers in here, as even though they still play it relatively faithful to the original game in this next segment, they do play some fun little liberties with it. I'm awake, of course. Okay, sure you are, Mr. All-Z's sleepy man. Hey, look, a Nintendo Wii. Man, that's considered a retro console now, I think. Ah, I can feel my hair graying. I'm only in my mid-20s. Oh, hello, Mr. Hiker Man. What do you got to say? Are you alone? Then let's battle. And this hiker has a new Pokemon for us, not only for this playthrough, but also this generation. This is Bronzor, a Gen 4 Pokemon. Kanto now has a lot of trainers that have their layout swapped to having Gen 3 and 4 Pokemon in them as well. Bronzor here is a Steel Psychic type, meaning it is weak to Ground, Ghost, Fire, and Dark, immune to Poison. This is a very interesting defensive Pokemon. Most of its stats are entirely focused on defenses, as it continues to do so as it evolves. But the fun thing is its abilities completely nullify one of its weaknesses each. Levitate completely gets rid of the weakness to ground, and Heat Proof effectively halves any damage done by Fire-type moves in the Burn status ailment, so this is a really potentially useful tank Pokemon, honestly. The biggest problem with catching a lot of the Gen 3 and 4 Pokemon, though, is they either require the new mechanic they added to the Safari Zone after you complete the second ownership test, or you need to have cleared a certain amount of Kanto to be able to catch Sinnoh and Hoenn Pokemon, period. So if you want to build them up for your team, are going to need to wait for a while. And I can recommend doing that to an extent. I know a lot of people that just actively build an entirely different team for the Kanto portion of the game. I don't like to do that, though, because for the very final challenges of the game, I like to have the same team I started with just as powerful as they can be. Next up, we got another new Pokemon, though you might have run into this one already, depending on your version. This is Fanfy. This replaces Teddiursa on Route 47 if you're playing Gold/Heart Gold. Pure ground type, so it's weak to water, grass, and ice. Immune to electric, though. This is a very HP tanky first form Pokemon with some okay attack stats on top of that, and a good learn set as well. When it evolves, though, at level, I think, like 25 from memory, you get a really good attacker out of it. Both Fanfy's and Teddiursa's line are very good for most team comps, I find. The biggest problem is what I brought up a few parts ago. in my type of play style, I like to have most of my team together by the first 6 or so gyms in a Pokemon game. The only reason I usually go for like a Skarmory or an Ursaring or a Donphan is that I know I'm not even close to halfway done at that point. So mileage may vary on whether or not you think it's worth using. I think it is, especially if you're playing Crystal in particular, because you can just walk northwest of New Bark Town onto the lower portion of Route 46, I think that is, and catch one in the grass there occasionally. And if having one of these around for an entire playthrough, you can do a lot worse for physical attackers. Or physical defenders, for that matter. They're really good at that, too. The special-oriented stuff at speed is the biggest weakness of the Phanpy line. And as I've noted before, my usual taste for Pokemon is I like them to usually have a stat over 100 in some way, even if that means they have one particularly lower stat. Because that means I can have, alright, here's my physical attack here, here's my special attack here, here's my speedies. Things like that. Now, the SS Aqua does have a bit of a very thin plot to follow. We actively do need to help that very hoarse-sounding old man find his granddaughter somewhere around on the ship before we can leave it. This plot point was in the original game, but at that point, if memory serves, the SS Aqua had an entirely different layout that was closer to the SS Anne, both in layout and genuine scale. This is a much smaller area if memory serves. But at this point, it's also been about 10 years since I last played Crystal in some actual form. Back when I did that top 10 RPG battle theme videos, that was about 5 years ago now, I think-ish. I did boot the game up just to record some very loose footage from that. But that's not really playing it, you know? Now, this sailor also has a new Pokemon for us. And it's one that gives me bad memories. This is Makuhita, a Generation 3 fighting type. Pure fighting type, by the way, so it is weak against flying and psychic, eventually fairy type. This is a surprisingly good HP tank fighting type that's... Attack is okay for a first form, but the rest of its stats aren't much to write home about. It really earns its potential place on a team when it evolves, though, when it gets really ridiculously good physical attack and HP. Its defenses and speed aren't much to write home about, but at that point, you're just there to tank some hits and deal them before you get knocked out, sort of deal. Hey kid, can I get you to look for my buddy? He's taking it easy somewhere, I'm not good for nothing. I want to go find him, but I'm on guard duty, I have to stay right here. Alright, sure, we saw someone falling asleep earlier, so probably over there. Makuhita, though, definitely evokes a sense of fight-or-flight response from me. If only because Brawly, the second gym leader in Hoenn, used to give me a lot of trouble as a kid because I never really caught new Pokemon by that point, and even though I usually had, like, you know, probably by that point, by not having other Pokemon, at least a Combuskin, I just couldn't tank a lot of the hits thanks to things like Endure and high crit ratios. What, you saying I was asleep? Show some respect! A crewman on duty would never be so unmindful as to take a nap in a place like this. I resent your implication. I challenge you. Speed up theme for this part, by the way, is A New World from Final Fantasy V, a very unsubtle song name choice, I know, but still. So, them adding in Gen 3 and 4 Pokemon to a lot of teams, and even some routes in some cases down the line, is really where the Kanto section takes off from where it was in the original game. Because throughout Kanto in the original game, you were fighting much lower level Pokemon than you by that point, that were still all the same things you had more or less seen before, with a couple of new things here and there. We're seeing a lot of new Pokemon in our journey through Kanto. So get used to this LP being probably not even halfway over. Like I brought up a few moments ago, though, you can eventually reboard the SS Aqua in either direction on specific days in the week. Like, I forget the exact days, but it's like Tuesday you can take it from Olivine to where we're going, and on like Thursdays you can take it from where we're going back to Olivine. And there is another reason to that besides fighting more and more trainers over and over again, but I'm going to get into that when we eventually do that revisit. Granddaughter spotted.
This little girl keeps asking me to play with her. Please don't stretch my ear.
Captain, play with me, please. I'm bored. I want to play more.
Wow, you're gonna play with me? Let's play hide and seek. I'll hide, so close your eyes.
Oh dear. Thank you for playing with her. You may think being a captain is a somewhat easy job, but it's actually quite demanding. That little passenger's gone out of the room. She can't get off the ship, so she must be signing somewhere around here.
Yeah, there's not many places she could be. Makes me wonder if that's why they changed the layout of this area to be smaller than it was in the original game, because if you had to check a full SS Anne sized ship, it would probably get really ridiculous to find her. And I want to say her location's always the same. It's not like a random thing. For me, she's down here. I don't remember it being random, at least. Oh, you found me. I better go back to my grandpa. And I'll go too, I guess. Grandpa, here I am. I was playing hide and seek with this guy.
Kyle, was it? I heard you entertained my granddaughter. I want to thank you for that. Take this.
And we get a metal coat. This is a trade evolution item that you can give to Pokemon like Onix to evolve into a Steelix when you trade them. There's another notable one, but that's just a Scyther, and while that evolution's good, we're probably not going to see it. Fast ship SS Aqua has arrived in Vermilion City. Just like where we saw the SS Anne set off from so long ago, we now find ourselves back in Kanto. And Kanto's structure is where the game will either get really fun for you or really kind of annoying. Because Kanto likes to play itself like how the latter half of Johto did. Or the middle third of Kanto even, in the original layouts of Gen 1. You can, by and large, go anywhere you want and do any gym in any order. There is some linearity to it in some regard, because you need to do the 8th gym as the 8th gym no matter what, and you're usually going to start with Vermilion City's gym just because you're already here. But you can go, by and large, anywhere, and there's even a mini-plot we have to do along the way. Notable, though, the roaming legendaries in Johto will never come to Kanto, so Entei and Raikou can't roam around here at all. Oh, hey, speaking of which... Bye! That was so close. I thought I could corner it by ambushing it here. But running on the water is beyond me. Still, I'm starting to see a pattern. Suicune prefers water. That means... Sorry, Kyle, I've got to go. Yeah, it's been a while since we last saw Yucine and Suicune, huh? It's been since, the way towards Price's gym, now that I think about it, since before Gym 7. And that's probably a good, like, what, 6, 7 videos at this point? I've lost track. Now, there are a lot of things and people you can talk to in Kanto that sort of follow up on plot lines from the original game. For instance, here in Vermilion, that guy who is building a building is still in the middle of that project and hasn't made any real headway on it. Despite it being 3 years in timeline since our first time in Kanto, things aren't that different. To the point where even the music's all remixes. And that includes the battle theme. This is such a good version of the Kanto battle theme. It's so good. Now, a moment ago, we got the Luck Incense item. That's an interesting one. I think that's the first of the incenses we've seen it can get. Incenses have two purposes. In battle, they'll do one thing, but if held by Pokemon and used in breeding, it'll cause that Pokemon to spawn their Gen 4 baby form. So, for instance, you can give that to Chansey's line to get a Happiny egg, eventually. Additionally, it'll work the same as an amulet coin in battle, so it'll double your money output at the end of it. I'm gonna try to know what every single incense we grab does, but it depends on whether or not I'm actively looking at the recorder at that time and not, like, something else on my screen. Really? I'm the chairman of the Pokemon fan club. I've raised over 150 Pokemon. I'm very fussy when it comes to Pokemon. Did you visit just to hear about my Pokemon? I guess. Good, then listen up. So, my precious Rapidash. It's cute, lovely, smart, adorable, irresistible, plus amazing, don't you think so? Oh, so wild, beautiful, kind. I love it. Hug it, it's warm and cuddly. Oh, it's spectacular, captivating, simply divine. I treasure it. Oops, look at the time. I've kept you too long. Thanks for hearing me out. I want to give you this present. Rare candy's a notable downgrade than what you gave us back in Gen 1, but I guess I'll take it. It's gonna give me a free level up down the line that I'll use. Now, I say there is some linearity here, and that's not just because you're probably going to start with Vermilion Gym. You also can only head north of Vermilion for right now, because if you try to head east, our good old friend the Snorlax is still around, but blocks your way towards Lavender Town. With that said, you can head into Diglett Cave to head towards Pewter City. You can head north towards Saffron. You can really go anywhere besides doing the Viridian Gym at the moment. I'm more or less doing things as I encounter them along my own route, but feel free to explore a bit here. With that said, this does cause a little bit of a problem when it comes to the random trainers. More on that, though, next part. For now, I guess I might as well finally show this off. We've seen the escalators on the Pokemon Center the entire game. Let's show off what's actually downstairs. Oh, hello. Right this way, please. Okay, sure. Hello, I'm glad to meet you. My name is Tiala, and I'm your guide to the Pokemon Wi-Fi Club. First, I need to give you this. Pal pad? Sure, thanks. That's your pal pad. You may register your friends in it. Once registered, you may link with those friends over the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection to trade Pokemon, battle, and so on. Would you like to know more? That's more or less going to be it. This was where you spent your time to connect with people online using the now very down Nintendo Wi-Fi connection. The pal pad was where you recorded friend codes and all that. And up here is the wireless area. This is where you can do things locally, like local battles, local meetups, to take a look at people's Pokedexes, trade, and all that. A lot of this stuff is just not doable at all anymore, at least on the downstairs avenue. It's like the GTS. Back when this game was the active Pokemon game, you could probably go on there, find people, and just trade and do battle with them. Pretty friendly-like, but I only did that a handful of times myself. Like, I remember at one point doing a battle against the person I actually found on this channel with, Patrick, back in, like, sophomore year of high school. But I might as well show off what the rooms look like, I guess. What do we got in here? What? Huh? That's not right. Hello there? Talking to... I've run this bit before. I know what's happening here past me. What have you done? Alright, so... peeling back the veil here, I'm doing the exact same thing I did back in my Fire Red LP. For those who didn't watch that, back when we got to the Sevi Islands in that game's plot, I actively traded with a Leaf Green playthrough I did on the side to evolve my Kadabra into an Alakazam. I'm doing this because, you know how I mentioned earlier in this video that I'm using about half my original Crystal LP team? Time to make that into 2/3 because I didn't turn my Haunter into a Gengar back then. And this also allows me to talk about a very good Pokemon with what I'm trading from my Kylie save down there in the bottom right from Heart Gold. As I'm going to be trading Mortis at the moment for Sharp, my Scyther from that playthrough. And you might notice they're holding a metal coat. When you trade Scyther with a metal coat, they get their evolution that was added in Generation 2. And it's a Pokemon that is worth the effort to trade if you can figure out how to do it on any emulator nowadays, or if you have a friend who will trade you back and forth in real life across any of the modern Pokemon games. You're going to get Scizor. Scizor is a bug steel type, meaning it is exclusively weak to fire, and it is a 4x weakness, but it's immune to poison. I used to really write Scyther off when I was younger just because bug types in general never really fit my playstyle, or they were just too weak. But Scizor is fantastic. Very high physical attack and good defense stats on top of that, with a leaning towards physical defense more than special defense. The only real weakness it has is it can't use special attacks too well. But that doesn't matter because not a lot of the moves it learns are special anyway, because in Gen 4 Beyond, thanks to the physical special split, Pokemon learn sets were completely reworked into making most Pokemon more viable, period. This Pokemon's fantastic. I talked badly of it back in my Fire Red LP from memory, but that's just because it was Gen 3 and most Pokemon sucked back then anyway because their learn sets were usually trash. I especially recommend if you want to raise one, go for Xizor, Iron Head, and Night Slash, because that's just a fantastic potential learn set to have there. With that said, Sharp isn't staying around, because frankly, I want more to spec. We'll see Sharp again, probably, but that's for a very particular thing we're gonna fulfill down the line. Is this gonna be a trend in all of my Pokemon LPs? I don't know. I might do it again when I get to Platinum. Not sure how I'd make it work on Citra for the 3DS stuff, but I guess we'll figure that out when I get to that. I might make it a thing, but it all depends on whether or not I want to use Pokemon that are trade evolutions. Thankfully, I at least like that you can always see what the trade animation rather is in every single game, because there's usually like 3 or 4 NPC trades. And I will be trading with myself again in this very LP down the line for a specific endgame special event. But I'm going to do that off screen. I'll just have the Pokemon from Heart Gold when I do that. Thankfully, most emulators nowadays can do this on the DS side, unlike the GBA stuff, where it's only really like VBA Link and MGBA from memory that can do trading with separate instances of itself. So if you're playing these games through unofficial means nowadays, you're probably going to be able to do this with some researching and setup. Unlike Virtual Console releases where, good luck, because you can't really get those anymore now that I think about it, because I think they just turned off the ability to turn... oh god, hi! That's terrifying. Let's hope I press A and it all works. You can't really add funds to the 3DS and Wii U anymore, is my point. Are we good? Okay, yeah, I think we're good. So my main reason for doing this overall, barring the later events, is this technically fulfills me using a Pokemon I haven't used before. Because now, I have a Gengar, unlike my original Gen 2 LP, so I now am using only 1/3 of my original team from that playthrough. Hell yeah, and the Gengar is very worth it, as now very high speed and very high special attack. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 23, we're starting our adventure in Kanto off proper by heading towards the Vermilion Gym. See you guys then.